Think of a moment when someone ignored you. They saw your message. They didn't reply. Your name wasn't mentioned in a meeting. You weren't invited to a group. In that moment, something strange stirred inside you. You couldn't explain it, but it was there. A tightness in your chest. A faint panic. Like something was going wrong. Your rational mind said, "This doesn't matter." But that feeling didn't listen. And here's what I want to tell you. That feeling isn't a weakness. That feeling is a 300,000-year-old alarm system. And this alarm system is what kept your ancestors alive. It's still running inside you today, every single day, whether you notice it or not. But why? Why does an unanswered message feel so significant? Why does being left out cut so deep? The answer isn't in modern psychology. It's on the African savanna. Imagine this. A group of 50 people. The savanna. Night. Lions can see in the dark. You can't. Leopards hunt in silence. You can't hear them coming. The nearest water source is a 3-hour walk away. You can't make that trip alone. When you got sick, no one brought you food. When you were injured, no one carried you. When winter came, no one shared their fire with you. In the modern world, the word loneliness can almost sound romantic. Some people even choose it. But for an ancient human, loneliness had only one meaning: death. Not a possible death, an inevitable death, within days, maybe weeks. The evolutionary pressure was crystal clear. Stay in the group, at any cost. Stay in the group. And the brain learned exactly that. In 2003, neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger from UCLA designed an experiment. She placed participants in a brain scanner. She had them play a simple game on a screen. 3 players were passing a ball back and forth. Then, after a while, the other 2 players stopped throwing the ball to the participant. They were left out. That was it. Social exclusion in a virtual game, by strangers, in an environment with no real consequences. The brain scans revealed something remarkable. The region that activated during social exclusion was the same region that processes physical pain. The same area. The same signal. The brain sees virtually no difference between "someone removed me from the group" and "someone hit me." This isn't a metaphor. It literally hurts. Now think about this. If being excluded in a virtual game by strangers can still trigger that signal in your brain, what must it have felt like to be cast out from a group of 50 people? People you genuinely depended on to survive. But the story doesn't end there. Because this wasn't just about physical survival. The group was identity for ancient humans. Whose son are you? Which group do you belong to? Which fire do you sit around? Today, these sound like questions of identity. But back then, they were questions of existence. Outside the group, you had no name. You had no past. When you died, no one would remember you. You were treated as if you had never existed. Because in every way that mattered, nothing of you remained. Ancient communities were small and tightly bound. Casting someone out wasn't just sending them into the forest. It was erasing every trace that they had ever existed. No one made eye contact with them. No one spoke their name. People acted as if that person had never been. We can call this social death. And in some cases, it caused far more prolonged suffering than physical death ever could. So how did expulsion arrive? It was never sudden. Never. First came the small signals. Your share of the food started to shrink. You were the last to be invited on the hunting party. People talked to you less. Someone averted their gaze as they walked past. Your status began to erode, slowly, silently. And the brain learned to watch for these signals, constantly. Is someone treating me more coldly? What did that look mean? Why wasn't I included in that conversation?
This wasn't paranoia. This was a survival skill.
And that system is still running today. Your manager walks out of the meeting without looking at you. You see a photo of your friend group that you weren't part of. Someone takes 2 days to reply to your message. Your rational mind says, this doesn't matter. But that ancient system inside you is sounding the alarm. Because to that system, these signals have always meant the same thing: danger. So how did ancient humans cope with this pressure? The answer is surprisingly clear. They did everything for the group. When anthropologists study communities that still live as hunter-gatherers today, they see the same thing over and over. In these communities, arrogance, greed, and selfishness are seen as the most dangerous personality traits. Why? Because these traits divide the group. If the group divides, everyone weakens. If everyone weakens, everyone dies. Among the Zhuhoansi communities of the Kalahari, there's a fascinating tradition called meat humbling. When a successful hunter returns from the hunt, even if he's brought back an enormous animal, the others deliberately downplay the meat. They say things like, "What is this? It barely counts as food." Or, "You've hardly brought anything back." This isn't cruelty. This is social engineering. They're preventing the hunter from getting a big ego, from seeing himself as indispensable. Because ego disrupts group dynamics. And when group dynamics break down, everyone is put at risk. This is why humility wasn't just a virtue. It was a survival strategy. And the fear of being cast out didn't just shape behavior. It physically reshaped the brain itself. Have you ever stopped to think about why humans are so extraordinarily good at reading faces? Why can we tell what someone is feeling, what they're thinking, just by looking at their expression? Why can we automatically track who gets along with whom in a group of 50? Who's offended? Whose status is rising? Because this information was a matter of life and death. According to evolutionary biologist Robin Dunbar's theory, the neocortex of the human brain grew specifically to manage groups of this size socially. Around 150 people. We call this the Dunbar number today. The brain grew like an accounting ledger to track social relationships. Who is trustworthy? Who owes me? Who is dangerous? Who will fight for me? A brain constantly running these calculations survived far longer in the forest. But here's a strange paradox. The fear of being cast out bound people to the group. It made them do everything to fit in. But at the same time, this very fear sometimes turned people against each other. To stay inside the group, sometimes you had to sacrifice someone else. During a resource shortage, when the group leader wanted to blame someone, when a crowd turned on a person, standing by that person increased your own risk of being cast out. So evolution gave you two conflicting commands: belong to the group, but stay away from whatever threatens the group. When these two collided, when an innocent person was unjustly accused and everyone stayed silent, there was no evil behind that silence. Behind that silence was a 300,000-year-old survival reflex. And now think about this. When a mob forms on social media, why does it grow so fast? Why do people stay silent, even about things they clearly see as wrong? Why does everyone in the office know about the problem, yet no one speaks up? These aren't modern weaknesses. These are ancient reflexes. The brain is still living in that small group, still sitting around that fire, and still asking the same question. If I speak up, will I be cast out? This is why loneliness hurts so much. This is why being left out cuts so deep. This is why receiving approval feels so good. These feelings aren't weaknesses. They are the very systems that kept your ancestors alive. A system tested, refined, and perfected over millions of years.
Here's the problem, though.
That system still operates by the rules of the savannah. But you no longer live by those rules. When a message goes unanswered, your life is not in danger. When you're left out of a photo, you're not dying. Someone being cold toward you isn't separating you from the group. But your brain doesn't know that. And honestly, the most truthful thing to say is this: there was never any evolutionary pressure for it to know. Because the modern world is far too young to rewrite 300,000 years of programming. When you feel alone at night, when you find yourself shut out from a community, when you notice just how deeply you crave someone's approval, don't judge yourself. Because that feeling worked for millions of years. You're just remembering. Something very, very old.